Welcome back, everyone. I'm Janice Lick with the Abundance Street Podcast, and I'm here with my co-host.
April Capri.
What's up, April?
Girl, hey. Welcome to
Hey,
the industry, y'all.
right? Hey, girl. Hey, you look nice as usual.
Thank you. You do too. It must be
Yeah,
warm where you are. It got cold out here. It's in the 30s.
yeah. It cooled down in the morning, but it gets really nice sunny days during the day right now. So spring is upon us.
Yeah, but winter ain't all the way gone yet. Because it was chilly, so I put my little sweater on today. But
Right.
thank you. You look nice too. The red is popping.
Thank you, girl. I got my little Afro puff going on.
I love it.
Oh, so who do we have as a guest tonight? I thought we have someone good.
Definitely. We have a software engineer turned author and creator of the Brian Bump app. With 3 degrees from MIT, he has navigated a diverse career path from launching startups to working with Fortune 500 companies and academia. His expertise spans cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, mobile enterprise platforms, and more, with over a dozen patents to his name. He is the author of the Career Toolkit and shares his essential skills for success that are often overlooked in traditional education. He has also contributed to MIT's Career Success Accelerator and helped develop innovative systems used in finance education. Join us as we get into his fascinating journey and glean insights from his wealth of experience. We have Mr. Mark Herschberg.
This
So cool.
awesome.
Definitely a lot of wins under his belt. Hi,
Right,
Mark.
Mark.
Hi. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's a
Thank you for being
pleasure. Yeah.
here.
So let us know. Tell us about your story.
Yeah.
I have an interesting story. I grew up a classic 1980s nerd. And so growing up that way, I found my mecca when I went to MIT to go study physics and computer science. And when I graduated, I really didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I looked at going to big tech, which back in those days meant Microsoft or IBM, but it felt too corporate. I looked at Wall Street, but that wasn't really a fit. I looked at consulting, all the big management consulting companies were recruiting, but I didn't really like that either. And I wound up going to this small software company kind of by process of elimination. Just, well, I don't like anything else. I guess I'll do this job. And it turned out to be what we now call a software startup, which was the right fit for me. But it wasn't so much I said, this is what I want to do, as, well, nothing else was appealing. This at least wasn't unappealing. And I probably would have been at that job for years on end until one day my manager called me in and he said, well, this may come as a surprise for you, or maybe not, but today's my last day. I'm leaving the company. I'm going to go start my own company. I'm taking some of these people with me, and I'd like for you to come too. Now, this shouldn't have surprised me. I knew something was going on because there were a lot of meetings with the senior people, and there'd be these other suits who would show up, and there's definitely something big going on. I didn't even think to ask, and really there was a falling out between all the leadership. I was lucky in that in this fallout, it wasn't things are going badly, get out. It was please come to this new company. And the owners who weren't leaving said, hey, we know he's probably asking you to go. Please stay. We want you. Well, suddenly I had a choice. Should I stay or should I go? And then I realized I had more than two options because at this point, it was the late 90s. It was the dot-com era. There were a lot of options. How do I choose? And that's when I started to think about what is it I want to do and which of these options are going to put me on that path. Now, I knew where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to be a CTO, a chief technology officer, and just had to understand which option takes me to my goal. And what I realized as I was evaluating these paths, to be a CTO or really to be any type of leader, there's a bunch of skills we need that we're not typically taught in school. Leadership, networking, negotiating, team building, communication, hiring, all these skills. We hear about them. People tell us it's important, but no one actually sits us down to think about it. So I needed to develop these skills in myself, and I found the job that I thought would help me best learn. And that put me on my path. Now I have gone on, I've been a CTO, a Chief Technology Officer, a CPO, a Chief Product Officer at lots of different tech companies. I've helped Fortune 500s play startup, where I help them develop new innovative business units. And I've helped start a couple academic programs at MIT and Harvard Business School. And the academic programs, so funny thing is I said, there are these skills that I haven't learned but I know are important. MIT got similar feedback. Companies were saying, we want to see these skills in people we hire. We can't find it. So MIT said, well, we should start teaching it. We know they need it in our students as well as others. And when I heard about that, I reached out, I said, I've developed some training material because at this point, it wasn't just about the skills for me. I knew these skills would help everyone. Even if they weren't going to become an executive, it would help them. And so I said to MIT, here's some training. Maybe this will help you. And MIT said, thank you, but don't leave just yet. Can you help us create more? Okay, sure, I'll help out. I helped create more. I said, okay, but you still can't leave. We'd really like you to stay and help teach. And so in parallel to this career where I've been building these tech startups, I wound up teaching at MIT. I've been teaching there for over 20 years. And that led me to write the book, The Career Toolkit, Essential Skills for Success That No One Taught You, the speaking I do for companies and conferences, and then the Brain Bump app that I give away as a free tool for training people, all of this in parallel to my job. So it's been this funny career where I said, here's where I want to go. It was very planned and intentional, and then a parallel path that was just totally opportunistic.
Wow, that is so
Whoa.
cool. I,
It's like a movie.
I know. I could relate being growing up in the 80s. I'm right there in that same generation and everything. But that's so cool how you just kind of rode the wave of the .com era and how you started out. Like you said, you're on what you thought was going to be your path, and then the whole opportunity just created itself there, and that's so awesome. That's so awesome. So I don't know. I mean,
I really like how you knew, and I want to ask, if it's not too personal, how old were you when you decided you wanted to be a CTO? Because this is my first time hearing that term. We hear CEOs and CFOs and stuff, but I never heard of a CTO.
CTO, Chief Technology Officer. That's the person in charge of all the software engineers and the IT. It's similar to a CIO, Chief Information Officer.
Okay.
CIOs usually more, we're buying third-party software and maintaining it. CTO is more common, we're creating our own software. And I was probably in my early 20s when I would join companies and I'd see, oh, they had a CTO. I was never going to be the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, or the head of sales or head of marketing. This was clearly, that's the destination I was looking at. So I didn't know the term, I think, as an undergrad, and it wasn't that common prior to the 90s. But then I heard it, I said, okay, that's the path for me. I will mention one thing. He said, it sounds cool that you rode the wave of the .com era. That makes it sound like I did better than I did. It was a fun time, but I was not at the right company at the right place. My companies back then really didn't go very far. And there were a bunch of lessons I learned after the .com crash. My best lesson, the best lesson that I learned was when there's a gold rush, the best way to make money is to sell shovels. Because back then everyone's saying, oh, what's the hot .com, right? Where am I going to find the gold? But really, when you think about the 49ers went to California, a few did get rich. Most of them got nowhere. But the guy who had the hard goods store, who sold shovels and pans and the goods to everyone, he was making a little bit of money from each and every person. You didn't have to know who won. You didn't have to know where the gold was. You just had to help whoever was going to get it. And so a lot of the companies I've done subsequently, it's about selling shovels, because I think that's a much better way to ensure success.
Those are some gems right there.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
I wanted to shout you out just for identifying what you wanted to do, identifying that you wanted to be a CTO, and doing what you needed to do to get there, even though you didn't, it wasn't like, a straight path. You had some curves and bumps in the road and stuff like that, but you did it, and you did it multiple times. So I think that that's amazing. And I just wanted to congratulate you, because that is a struggle for people to even identify what they want to do, let alone achieve it. And excel in that too, like everywhere you go, it seems like, even if the path changes, the people want to keep you there, and they don't want you to leave. So you're definitely valuable. But I think that's really cool that you did it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And not everyone says this is a job I want. And it's unfortunate that the way we teach people, if you think about career day in school, they say, here's Johnny's mom. She's a doctor. Do you want to be a doctor? Yes or no?
Totally.
Here's Jenny's dad. He's an accountant. Do you want to be an accountant? Yes or no? Those are the wrong questions. Whether it's for our children in school or us as adults, don't look at job titles. What you want to do, if you're not sure what you want to do, start talking to people about their jobs and ask them, what do you do during the day? Where do you spend your time? And what do you like or not like? Because if you talk to Johnny's mom, she's a doctor. We all know she takes care of sick people. But in fact, if you talk to her, the average doctor running a small business, running a private practice, you're spending a lot of time doing paperwork, trying to get insurance money so you can run the business. You have to hire staff. That wasn't a class in med school, but you're running a business. You have to hire your receptionist and all your nurses, and you have to deal with payroll. Oh, and you have to get customers. They don't just show up. Sick people don't just magically appear at your door. There's all these things you have to do. And you said, but I just like taking care of sick people. So maybe being in private practice isn't the right fit. Many people, you hear about the cool parts of jobs, but even hearing, how much time do you spend in meetings? Many people hate meetings. And if this is a job at a specific company, or a job that in general, the nature of the job involves a lot of meetings, that may not be the right career for you. So what we want to do is, as we talk to people, we hear about things. Someone says, yeah, I travel about 1 week out of the month. So, oh, hey, that sounds right. That's not too much, not too little. Whatever job I find, I'd like to find a job or a career where I'm traveling about a quarter of the time. Okay, what else? So here's a job where someone's in meetings most of the day. No, that's not for me. Oh, here's a job where you get to meet lots of different people. Okay, so what's a job where I'll do a little bit of travel and I'll meet lots of people? And you ask around, say, hey, have you heard of a job like this? So I might say, well, sales. If you're doing sales, you're always meeting new people, and there's a bit of travel because sometimes you have to go to the customer. Start to think, oh, okay, sales. So don't go from job titles, go from what are the individual things you want. It's kind of like when you're looking at a house, you say, well, I need this many bedrooms and bathrooms in this kind of location. Now let me see what houses exist that match my requirements. That's how we want to think about our jobs and our careers.
Awesome. That's gonna help me out. I'm a college and career teacher at a high school, and so I interview the students and speak with a lot of students, and they try to guide them to what they want to do after they graduate and stuff. So um, that's gonna really help me to kind of change my perspective to when I'm coaching them on things to look for that's gonna fit their need and what they really want to do. And like you said, make it a fit for them. That's great. That's wonderful.
It is a
So
really great perspective.
is that some of the things that you were teaching at MIT as well? That's some of those things that you developed for them, or?
That is indeed. And in fact, there's a list of about 20 questions, and this is free on my website. So when we give you the URL a little later, yeah, stay tuned, you can download those questions. And these are questions like, what do you want in life? And where do you want to live? And questions about what you're trying to achieve with yourself, not just in your job. Because really, we want to find a job that fits into the life we want, not build a life around the job we want. But by asking these questions, and you don't have to have answers to all of them, but even thinking about it's going to help direct you. The other important thing as you think about your career is that you have to have a plan. Too many people have no plan. The analogy I use is, imagine you are sitting in a ship in the middle of the ocean and just drifting. and you say, okay, I'm in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Boy, I hope I make it to Tokyo. What are the odds that the currents and the winds are somehow going to get your ship from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean all the way to Tokyo Bay? Slim to none.
Mhm.
But if you start sailing or rowing or turning on the motor and directing the boat, you're going to increase your chances. Now, sometimes the wind and currents will be with you and help move you along. Sometimes they'll be against you and you have to reroute or adjust. And that's okay, but you have to proactively go out and do it. But too many people say, well, this is my job. And hey, one day I hope maybe I can be a CTO or I can be the VP of marketing. Cross my fingers and let's see if it happens. That's like sitting in the boat and saying, cross my fingers, let's hope the currents get me there. You need to proactively plan and execute against it. And what trips people up, they say, but how can I plan 10 years? Well, how can you plan going from the middle of the Atlantic to Tokyo Bay? You know the route. You'll have to adjust. Oh, storm's coming in. We have to adjust around it. And that's okay. You're going to change your plan. Your plan's not set in stone. And things will happen like global pandemics and recessions that will throw you off. But that's okay. We'll go around, we'll adjust. Sometimes you have setbacks. A storm blows you back. Well, you just start out again. So you just need to be proactive in trying to get where you want to go.
So true. Direction is
That's
so
true.
important. And I'm not
It
gonna
is.
sit here and act like I got it all figured out. Like I had a major life event, and then like you said, the pandemic happened. So I changed majors, changed careers, and it was kind of put me in a space like, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm 40, and that was not easy. It's so difficult to just I think asking the right questions helps it be less difficult to kind of figure out what path you want to go to, because like you said, like just regular education like doesn't teach you some of the things that you know or need to know in real life, and we all know that it doesn't really fully prepare you. It's like the things that you find out after you get the degree. It's like,
Yeah.
I wish I would have known this, or I wish somebody would have told me or whatever. So I really think it's awesome that you incorporate that into your lesson plan to help prepare people for when they get out here, because it's
Yeah.
different than what it says in the book.
Right. I was about to say the books are totally different than with the real
Yes.
life. Yeah, the
I've had
reality,
teachers
right?
that tell
Yeah.
you like, now and they'll read the book, they'll read the curriculum, but in real
Yeah.
life, this is how
Yeah.
it is. Some teachers will tell you. So, and I appreciated that.
And the good news is you're not alone in doing this. Now, you have to take responsibility. It is your life, but you have other people who care about you and will support you. Hopefully, your manager is one of those people, although not always. Hopefully, HR at your company will help you, although not always. But then you have other tools and resources. You have friends and peers. You might have mentors. The fact that you're listening to this show says you're already being proactive and learning. And of course, there's lots of other resources as well. So don't feel you're just on your own. And you can go out and talk to people and keep listening to this podcast, keep listening to shows like this to learn more, and then discuss these ideas with other people to explore them further. It can feel a little isolated, but once you realize there's other people who are on the ship with me, you're not so alone.
Absolutely. And
That's so
it doesn't have
awesome.
to be the traditional routes either. Like, like what I was, grew up always hearing my mother, parents, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a good job and all that. And I did that. But now it's like so many different routes to take, so many different ways of educating yourself, not only like the traditional like college, but there's so many like even on the online and just people that have done it ahead of you, or it just is so much out there that you can just go to any resource and learn, and once you get into your niche, to stay consistent and stay the course. And I you're just going to be successful, because if you just stick with it and just don't give up and stay consistent and just use your resources all around you. So
Yeah.
that's so powerful. There's so much out here, y'all.
And the key is to look backwards. When I wanted to be a CTO, I said, what does a CTO need? What do you need to get that job and be successful at it? And that's why I said there's a bunch of skills I don't yet have. So that's my skills gap. I have to fill the gap. Just like when you say I want to wind up in Tokyo and I'm here, okay, what's between us? Oh, this path. I have to go down that path. So when you direct yourself to build skills to learn, you can certainly say, hey, this sounds interesting. I want to learn it. And that's great. And I do encourage that. Do what you enjoy. But if there's a particular destination, whether it's a specific job title or a type of job, it doesn't have to be a title, or even if you say, I want to do my own thing, it's not about a title. I want to run my own business, but they all require certain skills, whether to hold a role or to do your own business. Well, you have to know, maybe you don't have to be an expert in every field, but you have to know a little about marketing, a little about finance, a little about these areas. So look at the level of skill you need for where you want to be, the level of skill you are at, and now you've defined your skill gap, and then you have to fill in the gap. Now, don't feel overwhelmed. What a lot of people do, they say, oh my God, there's so much to learn. And it's like those people who create 10 New Year's resolutions. Okay, I'm going to quit smoking and quit drinking and go to the gym and wake up early and eat better. And it's a failure by about 6 hours into the New Year's. Instead, you say, okay, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to start going to the gym. Still going to eat badly, still going to smoke, still going to drink. But if I can just go to the gym and do that for 6 months, okay, now it's a habit. Now I don't have to really force myself every day. I'm used to doing it. Now I'm going to work on quitting smoking or whatever the next task is. So when you look at that skills gap, don't say, oh my God, there's so much to tackle. Just say, well, I'm going to tackle one thing for the next 3, 6, 12 months. And once I've got that down, then I'll move on to the next thing.
I love your time frames because you gave it like 3, 6, 12 months. You know, people do it for a week and like, it's not working, I quit. You do have to be patient and give yourself some time to let those habits and the effects of those habits actually kick in. So I think that's really awesome.
Right. What do they say? Like, is it 21? Was it 21 times before it becomes a habit? I don't know. What's the number they say, but
Is it
I don't.
90 days if you do something for the same for 90 days, or is it 30? It's some science to it, but
You're right. That's
And
awesome.
even if there's some research that says this, we're all different. So if you
yes.
feel I did it for that time, but doesn't feel like a habit yet, that's okay. Do it for a little longer because you're unique and this is who you are. So don't feel you have to go by the book, go by you.
So
Right.
true.
Do you
Oh,
include like teaching like soft skills, like as far as like, how to deal with customers or people, or teaching people, especially young people, how to interact with their, employers or the customers and things like that. So
We do cover that in class and in the book. And so these are skills, networking, for example. Most people think networking is, I'll just add a bunch of connections on social media. Look at me, I'm networked.
mm-mm.
The
yeah.
analogy I always use is, imagine I pull out a dating app, I just start swiping right. And all of a sudden I swipe right and she swipes right on me. And if I said, oh, look, I'm in a relationship. No, Mark, not in a relationship. You just swipe right. Now you have to actually go on a date
Mm.
and build that
And build
relationship,
it.
and then you'll
Yep.
be in
Yeah.
one. But people think, oh, look, I said connect and the other person connected with me. We're networked. No, you have to build a relationship. Maybe not a dating relationship, but a relationship of some sort. So you talk about networking. There's a chapter 2, working effectively. That's on these subtle skills like managing your manager, understanding corporate culture and how to fit in, making sure you know how you're contributing value to the company so you yourself are seen as valuable. And these are all really subtle skills that even most places don't really talk about.
Mm-hmm. So true. Do you I know you said you do a tech startup as well. Do you can you talk a little bit more about that? And if you like because I was gonna ask if you produce like apps to kind of help people. Okay.
I do a couple different things. Right now, I am a fractional CTO, CPO. So I am part time with a few different companies as a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, or a Chief Product Officer. But that gives me time to go and do some corporate speaking and also to do one of my own projects called Brain Bump. Now, Brain Bump is a free app I created to help people learn. From years of teaching, I know with my students, we have our class, and it's not a lecture-based class, it's very interactive. And they say, oh, this is great. Yeah, I get it. Wow, this is really helpful. and then they leave our class and they go off to their next classes. And months later, it's the summer and they have a summer job or they graduated, and they have long since forgotten everything we've taught them. I know from my own experience, I'll read a book. Okay, what a great book, what great tips. And 2 weeks later, you've forgotten most of it. This is because where you read information isn't where you need information. There's that disconnect in time and space. So what we need to do to help people learn is repeatedly expose them to it and deliver the information in the right time and place. When I wrote the book, I said, this is what I want to do. Surely there's an app to do this. And I was shocked that there was not. And that's why I created the Brain Bump app. So here's how it works. Now, the app is completely free. We have tips, key ideas from books, blogs, podcasts, classes, and talks. So imagine if you have my book, you went through with a highlighter. Okay, here's a good point. Here's what I need to remember. We've done that all for you, and it's in the app. So now you've got the app. All the tips are with you in your pocket at all times. Now you might use it one of two ways. Imagine you are at a conference, great networking event, thinking, oh, wow, I wish I had those tips. I remember reading them. They were good, but I've totally forgotten them. But now you are in the lobby of the hotel. You pull out the app, you open the app, and you tap networking because all the tips are tagged by topic. Think like hashtags.
So
So they're all
cool.
organized. They say, okay, give me those networking tips. And in seconds, there's all the networking tips. You can get all the tips from my book, or you can say, I want the tips not just from Mark's book. Yeah, he's pretty smart about this, but there's other good people out there too. Let me get their tips as well. So you get networking tips across the different books, blogs, podcasts, and other sources we have. And you pick them up right before you walk into the room so they're top of mind for you. The other way you might use it is you say, okay, I'm a new manager. I've just read this management book. Great. So why don't I get every day at 9 a.m. as I walk into the office, I want to get a reminder of that. Think like a daily affirmation, but instead of just think positive, something generic, this is concrete, actionable advice relevant to where you are. You don't even have to open the app. You just get a daily reminder. Okay, 9 a.m. every day, I want to get that management tip. And maybe your marriage is on the rocks. You're also reading a book on how to be more present in your marriage because your spouse keeps saying you're not. Well, you want to get that tip probably at 6 o'clock, right as you go home and you're about to walk in the door. And now this is key because if you got that marriage advice at 11 a.m. and you got the management advice at 7 p.m., your brain's going to say, it's not that the advice isn't good, but not now advice. I can't deal with marriage advice. I still have 3 more meetings and 100 emails to go through before I get home. And that management advice is good, but I got to get the kids to bed. I got to read them a bedtime story. I got to do the dishes. This is not the time for the management advice. So what the app does, it makes sure it delivers the right advice at the right time and place. And that's what helps us retain and use it.
Crazy.
Wow,
You
that
really
is so
broke that
cool.
down to the science. I love it.
Right on time, right on the right time, the nick of time, right?
Yes, you guys got
I
to get
love
the
it.
app, the Brain Bump app, and it's free. We will have the link in the description box. Check out this app. I'm going to get the app. I'm
Yes.
after the
So,
show.
so you mentioned that you can pull up like any book you're reading. Do you like upload the book into the app, or is it
We
just?
Yeah, we work with the content creators. Now, we encourage the authors, podcasters, and others to say, pull out the tips, put them on our platform to make them free for your audience. So, for example, you don't even have to buy my book and you can get all the tips for free. If we don't yet have what you want, because let's face it, there's a lot of stuff out there.
There is,
We've
yeah.
got some, we add more every month. It keeps growing, but there's still a lot we don't have. You yourself, when you have the app, you can either manually enter the tips. Oh, here's just something. I want to make a note and have this pop up in this set at 9 a.m. I'll put it in my favorite leadership tips and have this come up. Or if you are reading a book on Kindle and you make highlights in the book, you can export Kindle highlights. Most people don't know this. You can export Kindle highlights and then you can import that file into the app. And now you'll have all your highlights, but organized as these tip cards. So they're easier to access. And this, you mentioned the science before. This is really key. We know with websites, for example, your web page needs to load in a certain amount of time. If your web page loads in, let's say, under 3 seconds, right, people are fine waiting a second or two. If your web page takes 10 seconds to load, people walk away.
Oh, the
We know
world ends. Yes.
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
good it is not waiting 10 seconds. And so the key is that we had to make information retrieval very fast. So with the app, the goal is that you can get any information you need in under 7 seconds. Or when you're using that daily reminder, you don't even open the app. It just pops up exactly when you wanted it with the type of content you asked for. So it's all about quick information delivery.
Man,
Great. I love it. That is so
I
cool.
love it.
Y'all
Yes,
need to get that app. So
get the app, Brain
yeah.
Bump. I love it, and I'm really thankful to you for that, because I know time is short these days. You know, like, who has time to sit down and read a whole book? And I know that that's my struggle. You know, with work and this and that and this and that and lifing. I wish I did have 2 hours to sit down and read page per page per page per page. Like, so just highlighting the highlights, I just feel is so valuable. I love that. I love the concept.
I do too.
Well,
That's so
it's not a concept, it's an actual app, but I love the thought behind it.
yeah, I love it.
Totally.
So like if you could give some advice to like a startup, someone that's trying to start a business or anyone starting, maybe even like a teenager coming out of high school or something, and they don't really know what to do or where to turn. Like what kind of advice can you give someone starting a business or just someone starting something new? Any kind of gems, advice
There's
to
a
them?
lot to learn. You're not going to learn it all, but you can be smart and leverage your network and go out and say, who has solved this problem? So that means listening to great shows like this, reading things, talking to people in your network. And if you can't find a solution, start asking people you know if they know or if they know someone who may know the solution. That's how we really use our network. It's not just people you know, it's the people they know as well. And so
Absolutely.
recognize that the answers are out there. Your job is to find it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to find who already knows how to build wheels and can teach you how to do it or sell you a wheel. So talk to lots of people. If you are starting your own venture, no matter what age you're at, you need to be out there talking to people and learning. However, there's another caveat, which is that you need to discount all advice. Nothing works for everyone. So here's a classic example. We often tell people you want to hire people smarter than yourself. I think that's one of Bill Gates' famous quotes. And I'm sure others have said it before him. Hire people smarter than yourself. I always like to hire smart people who know more than me, where I'm going to learn something from that person. But you know what? If you said, Mark, you are now the manager of the local McDonald's, go hire a team. I'm not necessarily looking for rocket scientists to go work the fry machine. At that point, it's not about finding the smartest people I can. That advice is great for the office jobs, for my tech startups, doesn't apply to McDonald's. There, I want people, you don't have to be the brightest bulb, but you do have to provide service with a smile. And you have to be reliable that you're going to show up to work. Those are more important than your raw IQ. So, any rule, any advice, you can almost always find an exception in business. So, listen to the advice out there and then think about how much of that applies to me, 100% of it or 50% or 0%. Don't just take it as gospel.
Ooh,
Absolutely.
those are
That's so
some
true.
great pieces of information.
Yes.
Leverage your circles, leverage your network, and understand the space that you're in, and just, how you fit into that space.
Right. You
Love
gotta
that.
do what works for you when at the end of the day, is it gonna work for you, right? Yeah.
Ooh.
So
Oh, go
so
ahead.
can you kind of tell us like where can people find you, like on social media, websites and whatnot?
I'm going to give you two websites. The first is the website for my book, and that is thecareertoolkitbook.com. At that website, you can see where to buy the book, Amazon, elsewhere. You can follow me on my social media links. You can get in touch with me from the contact form. And there's a bunch of free resources. I mentioned all those career questions. So on the resources page of that website, you can download that for free. I don't even ask for your email. I'm not trying to sell you anything. There's a bunch of other free downloads for you. All of that is at thecareertoolkitbook.com. And then we have the completely free Brain Bump app. Now you can find Brain Bump in the iPhone and Android stores. You can also go to brainbumpapp.com. And on that website, you can follow links to the stores. There's a 90-second video showing you how the app works. There's an FAQ, there's more information. And so all of that, all the information about the free Brain Bump app, you can get at brainbumpapp.com.
Ops. That's so
Love
cool.
it, you guys.
I know I'm going to
Connecting.
check out that website because it's going to help me in my directly in what I do with working with students and their career choices and stuff. So I'm going to check out your website. That's so cool.
I'm
Thank you
gonna
so much.
definitely get the app.
Yes,
That
yeah.
is it's like a godsend for me. I am really just thankful that you chose to do this and share your knowledge and your expertise with the world. You were talking about the gold rush earlier. You definitely dropped a lot of giant gold nuggets through this whole episode. A lot of great information, a lot of experience, and just it says a lot about your character, just being kind-hearted and sharing with everybody else and genuinely wanting to see people succeed and not only succeed, but excel as well, you know? So I'm really thankful to you for that. I'm going to grab the app. And I wanted to say thank you for not hating on Android and making the app available on Apple and Android. Thank you, because I'm so sick
Right,
of the Apple Android wars, but I'm definitely going to get the app.
right. Me
All about
too.
equality. Apple and Android users coming together.
I
Right.
love it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, yeah, I can't wait to check out all the shovels you dropped on your website. So I know you got
Yes.
a lot of shovels that you're handing out. So that's awesome.
Those two, gold nuggets and shows. You're the one-stop shop.
Right. So I just want to say thank you for coming on with us tonight. So it was such a pleasure.
Your
Thank you both for
pleasure.
having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to go to the description box and check out all of the links that Mark just gave. And Mark, thank you so much for coming on with us. All
Thank
right,
you. Y'all
y'all.
have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.